Hey there, I'm Diego, a designer and webflow expert, and today I want to talk about design, but more specifically about design block, which is something that we as designers, we always face a design block in your career, or some moment when we're working on a project and we just get stuck. We don't know what to do, we don't know where to go next, we're not feeling confident about your own skills, and you just hit a block and that's it, you're stuck. There's a few things we can do to overcome this design block, and today I'm going to tell you the 5 rules I follow based on my own experience, obviously, to do that, to overcome a design block. So let's get to it. Okay, so starting with the first rule I always follow on my process is obviously having a process, so having a clear process. Every story has a beginning and an end, but most of the time we get stuck in the middle, in between. So where you don't know like where you at on the journey of finishing your project, you don't know where to go next. You keep iterating on a few things. You move here, you move there, you do something here, do something there, but you just feeling stuck because you don't know if you're doing progress, if you're not doing progress. You don't know what are the next steps. Things are not progressing as you expect. The thing you have to do is obviously define your process. So having a clear process and following it all the time. So what you need to do is take a project, and from the beginning and to the end when you deliver the project, you need to identify all of the steps you need to go through the whole thing to deliver the project to your client, right? So defining some specific steps, some actionable steps, you have a clear journey, so you know exactly what you need to do. So I'm going to show you my own process for designing a website, and it's very simple, but it's effective and I use all the time, and I call this like working in layers. Okay, so this is a website. It's like a landing page, not a huge website, for a client I did recently, and I follow my process here. And the first step of the process, my process, is always starting with the mood board, starting with inspiration. So the first thing I do is create a Figma file, and the first page on that file is the mood board. So me and the client, we work together, and we gather on the mood board lots of screenshots of like website that we like visually, components that we like. We point like different interactions that we love to see on the project, something similar, and we come up with this mood board. So here, for example, the client did a good job finding some inspirations on websites, and then I looked for inspiration outside of the website field, like the web design field, like for different compositions that had the right mood for the project. So pictures, compositions of elements, and all that kind of stuff. Then after we finish the mood board process, where we gather a lot of visual inspiration, we end up knowing exactly what is the visual direction we want to take, what is the right mood for the project. So we know where we need to go at the end of the journey, right? And then the next step is starting working on layers from very high level to very detailed. Here I start with the very high level concept of a page, which is it's wireframe, but it's not exactly a wireframe. It's just like a collection of boxes. And why I do that, so you can see that I have boxes for header, hero, mission, approach, team, and all the sections we have on the website. So every box is a section. And I do this because the first thing for me to tell the story, to define the journey for the user when reaching out the website, is finding out what is the right sequence of things. So how do I tell the story? What goes first? What goes next? What makes sense to have at the end, at the beginning? So defining the sections and what kind of content we need on these sections, this is, at least for me, it's fundamental. So I always start with the high level wireframe box thing. It's just the way I do. The next step is we go into another level of complexity, which is not that complex, but we start doing some complex stuff, which is low fidelity prototype. This low fidelity prototype or design. This here is a little more evolved because from my experience I can do that stuff, but I don't worry too much here about details like having a grid system, proper fonts or sizes or colors, or even the visual assets like pictures, etc. I don't need that here. What I do here is find balance. So the first thing I do after I figured out the sections is figuring out what are the elements that I need to put on these sections, and also how can I distribute these elements on these specific sections in a way that you have the right balance, in a way that you use white space well enough to block things out and to make the experience of scrolling the page, scrolling the website, and consuming these blocks of content easier. After that, then I keep going. So it's very high level. You see that I took all of these sections here individually, and then I started designing what should be done inside these sections. And when I felt confident enough about the distribution of the elements, then I start diving into more layers of detail. So this is a more evolved design. When I start working on like things like having a grid, having the right font, etc. I haven't yet added other visual assets, but I start doing that kind of stuff, and then just going into more detail. And then we evolve into the high fidelity prototype. But you still see that even if it's a high level prototype with the right colors and pictures and illustrations, we still iterate. So keep iterating all the time. I did that a lot here. So you see multiple versions here with different elements, different distribution of elements, until we end up on the final result, which is this. This is what got designed and published on the client project. So it's like that. That's my process. So I know that the first step is always the mood board. I start with inspiration, then I move into defining the sections. So okay, I'm on on this part of the journey. So what's next? Where I'm at. So yes, I'm still on the beginning of the journey. I have a long way to go, but I know where I'm at and I know what's next. After I finish this step, then I go to the next step, which is the low fidelity prototype. So I have all the steps on my mind all the time. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm at. I know what I already did, and I know what I have to do next. So having the right process and follow the process, trusting your process is fundamental, because this will guide you to the journey. The next rule might sound weird, but it makes sense. So just bear with me and listen. The next rule is actually putting a time constraint on yourself. And okay, so time constraint. So I'm working on something creative. So I need to iterate. I need to keep going, trying to find perfect balance with things, like the perfect composition of colors, of elements. I need to keep seeking perfection. No, stop that. Just stop, because seeking perfection is unrealistic. Perfect doesn't exist. What exists is done. And I keep saying all the time for people that I know that done is better than perfect. And how do you get things done? That's at least the trick that I use on my projects, is putting a time constraint on myself. So we saw previously that we have all those steps on the journey, right? And I need to follow those steps. So along with the steps, what I do is I define a specific amount of hours or even days for that specific step. So for example, I'm on the low fidelity prototype. I need to define all the things there, like the distribution of elements, the balance, white space, etc. Okay, I give myself like 1 or 2 days to get that done. Sometimes even less than that. And might sound rush, but when you put a time constraint on yourself, you are forcing your brain, your mind, to keep moving, because you don't have time to get stuck thinking, looking at your screen, and keep iterating and seeking perfection. You don't have time to seek perfection. So you need to keep moving, and by doing that, you force your mind, your brain, to make decisions faster. And the ability to make decisions faster is something that it's really fundamental for a designer. Put a time constraint yourself, and just do your best on the time you have. But do it. Don't stop. Just keep moving and do your best on the time you have, and that's it. Just get things done. And at the end, you will thank me, because most of the time you will find that the end result for the time constraint you put on yourself is actually better than you were expecting before. So just do that. Since we're talking about training your brain to make decisions faster, the next rule is something that I think it's fundamental and every designer should do, but it's kind of obvious, but I don't know if all designers do. So my third rule is always keep exercising your brain. And before I dive into this rule, let's define first, what is creativity? Well, is it a gift? Creativity is a gift. It's something you're born with, or is something like magical that just happens to people? No. Creativity is actually a muscle. Yes, a muscle. So it's weird, right? But it's true. So the same way as that bodybuilder, that huge guy that goes to the gym, that really strong guy, exercise every day, and he has a strict diet, he takes supplements to get stronger and lift weights easier. The same way that bodybuilder does that, you need to do that with your brain. So you need to feed your brain every day with good inspiration, with good design, with a variety of things. And at the same time, don't just do that. You need to put that food to work for yourself. You need to work out your brain, which means that you need to exercise your design skills every day. So design every day. Just do that. Just take some time of your day. If you're not designing for a client, just do something every day. Just don't get stuck. Keep moving. Keep doing things. So if you don't have any ideas about what can you design, well, you can just create a fake product or a fake company, a fake service, but have something defined. Define what is the product or the service. Create some placeholder content, then design around it. It's really important that you design with a purpose, because just designing something randomly that looks pretty, that doesn't work. We see a lot of dribble shots out there that are pretty, but they don't work on the real life. So what you need to do is exercise your design skills, but always with a purpose. So you can create a fake project, like a fake service, and design something around that. Or even you can pick a theme, like something that you really like a game that you really love to play, or a rock band that you're really a fan, or even a movie you love, and just pick that theme, like something that you really love to talk about. Write down some content about that theme, gather some visual assets, and then take all of this and design something around the theme that you like to talk about. And you will see that as you keep doing this, you will aggregate experience. You work out your brain to be stronger on making design decisions, which means that you will have enough experience on your mind to know what works and what doesn't work with specific clients or specific projects. This is how you make decisions faster. Rule number 4 for me is also kind of obvious, but maybe it's not that obvious for everyone, is to stop looking for inspiration on your field. Start looking outside, out of your comfort zone. What does that mean? Well, if you're a web designer, what's the first place you look for inspiration? Well, it's kind of obvious, right? You look for award-winning websites, web design inspiration galleries. You look for amazing websites with good design, things that stand out to you. And then you just, if you're doing a mood board, you just start gathering inspiration from all these websites, right? That works fine. That's perfectly fine. But at some point you end up seeing that you're just doing the same stuff over and over again. You're just doing the same kind of layouts all the time, because the only thing you look at is websites. And websites, so most of them look similar, right? You have a hero section, then you have a section with the text on one side, a picture on the other side, or a 3-box section. variations of those things. So like you just end up stuck because you can't do something outside your comfort zone, because that's all you keep seeing, the same kind of inspiration. So stop looking for inspiration in your field and stop, like, just do a step outside your comfort zone and look for inspiration where you never look at. What are the other fields that you can see something visual that can inspire you to create different compositions, something unusual? Well, you can look for magazines, like how magazines work with grids, or combining fonts, or combining blocks of text with imagery. Or you can look for example, movie posters, rock band posters, album artwork, paintings, or even photography. Photography is an amazing field to look for inspiration, because photography is all about like good lighting, good composition of elements on the photograph on the photo. It's so there's tons of other places that you can look at and try to find unusual combinations, things that look good for you. You like to see that kind of stuff, but you never saw something like that on a website. So try to seek the unusual, because doing the same things, like following the well-known patterns, that's fine. That's even recommended at some point, but our brain is trained to recognize patterns. And at some point, when you recognize too much of these patterns, we just stop paying attention, because we know that people don't read websites, they just scan websites. It means that, like, if you have a lot of text, or if you just doing the same things that every website does, the same compositions, it was just start ignoring the things you have, like the content is really relevant. It's not that relevant for them, because they are trained to ignore the pattern. So look for the unusual, because if you create an unusual composition and people scan website, at some point they will see that composition that stands out on your eyes, because they see something that I never saw before on a website. So try to look for unusual inspiration outside your field. And the last rule I follow, the rule number 5, is like the final thing I do when I hit a roadblock, because that happens, right? So you have a clear process, you follow the process, you put a time constraint yourself, you do the best you can with the time you have, you look for inspiration in different places, you did all of that, but you still hit a roadblock. That happens. Well, it happens with me as well, lots of times. So when you hit that roadblock and you have nothing else to do, what you need to do is stop doing it alone. So don't do it alone. Just look for help. It's obvious, right? But a lot of people don't do that. So that's why I think it's important to be part of a community, because if you're part of a community and you're having, like, you're exchanging experiences of people that are from different places, with different experiences, you have more opportunities to grow, and we grow faster when we grow together. So growing alone happens, but when you are part of community, you all grow together faster. So don't be afraid of judgment. Don't be afraid of feedback, because bad feedback is actually what makes you grow. Good feedback saying that what you did is pretty, it doesn't help, because you're just staying on the same level, right? So just like find a designer friend, find someone on the community to talk and ask for feedback. So say, I had this project, I did this, but I'm not satisfied, I hit this roadblock, I don't know where else to go. So what do you think? Just ask, don't be afraid. And I found good solutions and good ideas with good conversations with friends, like designer friends on the communities that I'm part of. So yes, that's it. Just ask for help. Don't be afraid of judgment. Don't be afraid to show your work. So yeah, that's it. So these are the 5 rules I follow to overcome design blocks from my own experience. And by saying by my own experience, I'm saying that this works for me. It might work well for you, might not, but I hope that sharing this will help you somehow to overcome that fear of getting things done, because we'll just need to do stuff. Keep working, keep practicing, ask for help when you need, Just put a time constraint on yourself so you don't get stuck on something indefinitely. And then just trust your gut, because we are designers, we feel as imposter all the time. That's very common, but we just need to do stuff. We need to move. And I hope that with this video, you feel inspired to just keep moving and keep doing your stuff and trusting yourself. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope this content was useful for you somehow. And feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'm planning more design tips for the channel. So stay tuned. Bye.